Welcome to another episode of the
Rey and Nev show.
How you doing, Nev?
I like it. I like how we were synchronized just now.
That was perfect, man.
That was
On
actually
point
perfect.
like a cheese
Yeah.
donut.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, pretty good. I mean, we're going through a lot of big changes this week.
big news.
Yeah.
Big news.
You want to tell the people about it?
I figured this time, because I talk a lot. I figured this time I want to hear Neville tell the story.
So what story do you want to hear?
Well, let's start with the lawsuit, the NAR lawsuit, because I know there's the consumer out there wants to know what's going on, right? So, First of all, we believe that the lawsuit, whether you want to, I don't know, I would say whether you want to say no, that, they're guilty, we're not guilty, that's besides the point. When you put it into the logics of the suit itself, when you're saying that the seller was not aware of the fact that they were paying a commission from the buyer's money, because it was buyer that actually paid for the monies for the transaction to occur, and when the transaction occurred, then the commission was paid out. So we worked for free essentially for months on end, depending on how long we worked with that customer.
Because maybe explain that part, because we work for free for months if it closes. Because if it doesn't close, we don't get paid, even though
at all. If a customer cancels, we don't get paid. If a customer, so it kind of evens out. A lot of people think that real estate agents make a lot of money, but the average agent only makes about anywhere between $30,000 and $60,000 a year, which is an average job anyway.
Yeah.
Actually, there's way more jobs out there that make way more than that.
Yes.
That are simpler and don't have to deal with the headaches that real estate agents deal with, because it's not just the customer that they have to deal with. They have to deal with the lender. They have to deal with the insurance companies. They have to deal with the inspectors. They have to deal with the appraisers. They have to deal with the other agent on the other end.
And then we have to deal with our side as well, where it's like our liabilities, our disclosures, the things that we have to do on our back end that we never tell the client about unless we have to.
The biggest thing that I want, if a consumer gets anything out of this conversation that we're having today, is that they have to understand that all the ugly stuff that could ever happen at a transaction, our job is to keep them away from that, because purchasing a home, I think it is a beautiful thing. And I think because of it, it is essential that our customer service that we provide, and that's the experience that we give, is what gives that customer the satisfaction of working with an agent. Everything else they're not going to know about. We're like, you call it like the unsung hero, like the guy that's working behind the scenes. Like, I'll give you somebody, I was thinking about this the other day. I'll give you somebody gets zero credit. The stuntman of a movie.
Oh, yeah.
Zero credit. They do all the work.
They do all the work. They do all the dangerous work.
All the dangerous work.
Yeah.
So, all the dangerous work.
You want to jump in and kind of explain what this NAR settlement is? Like, what is it?
So what happened was there was a lawsuit that occurred. I want to say it was in Wisconsin. I think
Missouri.
It was in Missouri.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was in Missouri, and what probably happened, just so you know, I mean, not to bring politics into this, but there is a young lady running for office in Missouri, Valentina Gomez. Isn't that Missouri?
Yes.
And yes. I guess she's running there for a reason. So anyway, if you guys know who she is, look her up. She seems pretty cool. But definitely look her up, Valentina Gomez.
Shout out to Valentina.
Valentina Gomez, man. So so Missouri, there was a lawsuit about agents talking about, creating. It was kind of like a conspiracy theory, like all conspiracy theories, in regards to setting a set of compensation. What most people don't realize, and what people didn't take into effect during the court trial and all those things, is that agents have done right by the consumer their whole entire careers, all the way back from the 60s. The average percentage that was being charged back then was anywhere between 10 to 16% on a transaction. Obviously, the prices were lower. And as prices started to increase, so did agent commissions start to decrease. And they've been decreasing, and it's never been set. So just want to make sure, and we're very clear, that it's never been a set price. It has always been what the consumer has been agreed upon during their meeting to pay the agent. So that's the part of the lawsuit that I didn't like, the fact that they're saying that it was set at a certain number. It never was. That was, we had what's called company and industry standard, which is across the board, right? And this is the crazy thing, right? For those consumers out there, I'm not advocating for you to do this, but you guys used attorneys to sue the realtors who actually have an industry standard of the way they charge as well. But it depends on who you speak to, right? Another one, if you want to get sue happy, what about hospitals? They have an industry standard, right? Industry standard does not mean that it's set in stone. It just means, hey, this is a standard, and just the average, and everything else is over. Either it's going to be above average or below average, right? You're dealing with a crappy agent, it's probably going to be below average pricing because they're going to give you below average results. If it's above average, that person's going to charge you more. Why? Because of their experience, their knowledge, and the experience that you're going to get from them. So those two things are very different and basically relate to the whole situation. So they said we created a standard that this was our price and that was that, and that wasn't true. Why did we settle? I have no idea. I think the reason for it was because the agents that were sued, that agency was sued, they settled first, right? And when they settled, it only gave us, because we were still fighting, we were part of the board at this point when I talk about we. So NAR, to be exact, National Association of Realtors. And then we had to cave because the actual person that got sued, settled instead of going. Now, settling, just so we understand, and I'm not an attorney, you can ask an attorney this, doesn't say you're guilty. It just says, hey, look, man,
we don't want to fight it.
We don't want to fight it. That's all that means. And I was kind of disappointed when it went down that way, because I felt like we could have fought, and common sense and logic would prevail, and then they'd be like, okay, well, let's just throw this out. That didn't happen. Unfortunately, we settled. We decided to pay out. And this is where I want you to chime in on this, because if everybody that's eligible signs up in this, what is it called, like a civil lawsuit or
class action.
Class action. So if everybody does it, what's the average payout?
So counting the amount of people that can qualify under this lawsuit, if everybody gets paid out, they're going to average about $10 according to Google.
So you changed an industry that now, for the bad, by the way, we'll talk about that. Just so you can get $10. Think about that.
$10 we did this change, and it's funny because they did this for $10 and they didn't expect it to be. No one expected to do a lawsuit, go through the steps, and only get $10 from it.
Yeah.
But they also did it. They made the same mistake twice. They forgot to negotiate commissions again, because how much did the attorneys make off of this?
On average, I think we did the number. I think it was something like, from the $400 million at 35%, they walked away with 35% of 100. So you're looking at 3 times 4 is 12. So they made like about 120 million.
Over 120 million dollars.
And they don't have to share that with anybody.
And that goes straight to the attorney. So
that's really,
what do they say? Fool me once,
shame on you. Fool me twice,
that's
shame on me. And here's the crazy thing, right? Like,
and I'm not saying that to say that they were fooled. They weren't fooled.
No,
this is stuff that they just decided.
Well, they were fooled. They were fooled. I would say this, right? And the attorney can send me a cease and desist. I don't really give a shit, right? But the attorney that did it didn't have to go class action. He did on purpose because he wanted to make it nationally known.
Yes.
But he didn't hurt himself. He hurt literally every consumer that he was supposedly
that
helping.
Brought it up to him.
He's advocating. Like, you ever heard of the attorneys that are ambulance chasers?
Yep.
So that's what this attorney was at this, essentially, right?
Mm-hmm.
Man, he's gonna sue the crap out of me. Go ahead, do so. We'll have a lot of fun in court. But I'm speaking facts. So I'm not saying that was his motive, but I know that there was a time where, if it was recorded, they were in a room, and his exact words to that client was, because that was his client, I think we would have a stronger case if we go class action.
Yep.
Because there's a lot more sellers out there. What he didn't tell him Once again, if it's recorded, you can look it up. He didn't say to him, but it'll affect the amount that you get in your settlement tremendously. They're not going to tell him that, because the thing that the person's thinking is, well, I'll win. Yeah, you'll win. Of course you'll win. And then they sell them on that. And I think that's the biggest thing that people don't realize, that I'm not saying they got suckered, but I'm saying they didn't realize that the end result happened because of a conversation that was just not vetted the way that person's supposed to vet it, because he didn't know any better. I'm telling you right now that that particular consumer, that particular client did not know any better. And congratulations, you're probably going to get a little bit more than $10. I don't think everybody that qualifies will sign up, but if you walk away with $1,500, great. I don't even know how much you paid your agent, but if you did, the fact that you did pay him lets me know he did his job. So to sue him for doing his job is kind of, excuse my French, fucked up. And what you really did do, and we'll get into that next if you want to, is you changed the market of the way we deal with sellers. Now it's beware of the seller. Never used to be that way. The seller and the agent were always a team, and they worked together to do a great job for the sale of their home. And here's the thing that really ticks me off, and I hate to bring this up, but what about when we have a great market or even a bad market, but you have an excellent agent and he's always getting over the ask, knowing that in most cases the house wouldn't even have got it if he would have done it for sale by owner. But now he didn't make any extra money because of that. He didn't get a bonus, right? Because if you make, just to give you an example, if I make you an extra $100,000, I make $3,000. If I make you an extra 10,000, I make $300, right? If it's 3%, I'm just throwing a number out there, right? Using it as an example. $300, right? So you made 10,000, but I made $300, and you're mad at me because I made you an extra 10,000. Oh, you won't be mad at me. You see what I'm saying? That's the difference. So I just feel like I'm going to continue to do business as usual. I'm going to still give my clients and my agents as much value as I can, because as a broker, I want to do that for my agents, and I have to do that. And whichever is our client, whether it's a buyer or seller, we're going to give them the best service possible. Always, 5-star service, regardless if they're buying or selling, and it doesn't matter to me the price. I'm going to help everybody that needs my help. But what I am going to do is I'm going to, beware of that seller. If I'm negotiating against a seller, it's lights out. It's like Mike Tyson versus a high school kid.
And that's actually what I want to lead into, the impact of this decision, right?
Yeah.
Of the settlement. Who's going to be impacted by it?
Sellers. I think sellers will be affected the worst. And I say the worst, and I say it that way because I think that what's going to happen is, if you have an agent that's going up against a seller, what do we do for a living? We negotiate for a living. Mm-hmm. Some of your best negotiators are agents, right? Besides attorneys, agents is I would say number 2. Attorneys, I think, are number 1, because that's truly their job. With us, it's a bunch of different other things, but we're number 2. And when we go to negotiate, we're really good at what we do, especially when we have nothing to lose. Mm-hmm. And when the buyer gives you that authority to have nothing to lose, it's lights out, man. I'm telling you, it's sellers are going to suffer. They're going to pay more in commissions now than they've ever paid, and it's not because, and you can't even sue anymore, because now we're telling you you're going to pay more, and you're going to sign to agree to that.
So that's one of the impacts I wanted to bring up. Now we have written disclosures for everything.
Correct.
A lot more signing is going to be needed to for any transaction. So now this impact is going to affect the sellers, but they signed off on it.
I think you also have to take into consideration that there was a couple of copycat lawsuits that are out there that are still in litigation. That's why companies have decided to not charge a co-broke and let the seller decide if they want to pay it. Don't let it fool you guys. They're still going to have to ask for a co-broke, because the buyer has the ability to only work with homes that they want to buy that pay a compensation, because the buyer is paying for a lot of things that the seller's not taking into consideration. They're paying for closing costs, right? Yes. They're paying for
inspections,
down payment, inspections, appraisals, moving survey, moving expenses, cleanup at the next house if they have to, if they're in a rental, Or if they have a house, they have to sell that house to buy this house. So now they have to pay commissions on that side, and then they have to pay commissions against on this side. Like there's so much that the buyer's dishing out that the seller didn't take into consideration. But even then, the biggest thing that they don't take into consideration is that they took advantage of it.
Yep.
When they purchased, they took advantage of it.
Yes.
And then here's the thing. Did that particular seller that brought this lawsuit to light, did he buy? He had to, okay, here's the thing. He had to have sold. He's not homeless. So he had to have bought.
Yep.
When he bought, he didn't pay either. So should we sue him to pay as a buyer?
Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, you could hear the frustration in my voice because I think it's stupid. It truly is a stupid lawsuit. And that's how I want you consumers out there to see it, as a stupid lawsuit that should have never happened. But it's the world we live in today. I mean,
so
it just.
Can I ask you a question? What's the impact that's going to be kind of that the sellers are going to feel right now? Like, what can they expect coming into this new market?
I would say the biggest thing they're going to expect is a crap load of disclosures, a crap load of agents. There's going to, okay, so they're going to have agents that are going to create some sort of frustration. And here's where I go with that. If there's an agent that doesn't take a co-broke or doesn't have a seller pay a compensation, that seller might be two things are going to happen to that seller. One, the property is going to stay on the market for a really long time. That's just the reality.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying if I have a client that wants to see it, I'm going to show it whether he pays in compensation or not. That's, I want to pull that disclaimer out there because I'm all about taking care of the customer. But the property is going to stay on the market long, which is going to create a stagnant market for that property. And then what's going to happen is, in return, that property is now going to become a discounted property, right? And it's going to move onto the discount shelf. So now when the agent does submit an offer, the agent's going to ask, are you paying a compensation? No. Okay, great. Well, if you want this buyer, you're going to pay a compensation, and it's not going to be this percentage. It's going to be even a higher percentage than what you would have normally paid if you would have started at that number. And that's that. And then it's going to be up to the seller to decide. So they're going to be more frustrated than ever. Before it was just seamless type of transaction, except for when you deal with the buy and sell. That's horrible, but you know that.
So, can I put my input kind of?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to hear it.
So I think what we're gonna start seeing is that high level of frustration from the sellers, but it's not gonna be because they have to sign more disclosures. It's not gonna be because, hey, I couldn't get no one to look at my house. It's gonna be, I shopped around and found the agent that will do it for the cheapest that I don't have to pay a co-broke on.
Yep.
And now this agent doesn't do anything. This agent doesn't answer my phone calls. This agent hasn't gotten any showings on this house. He hasn't given me any feedback on this house. I don't know what's going on. Because this is across the board in anything that you pay for.
Yep.
You get what you pay for.
Absolutely.
Would you bring a Lamborghini to a backyard mechanic?
Nope.
So then why would you go and get the cheapest realtor to pay to sell the most expensive item you own? Does that make sense?
I agree. Yeah, no, it makes it makes a lot of sense. But think about it like that. Like think about when you go to a doctor in anything, just you name it, in anything, right? Taxis, go as far down as taxi. If you go to Uber, what do they have? They have different levels of Uber, right? So if you want to get the just a regular ride, you can go with Uber. If you want a bigger car, XL, you go with Uber XL. You get the bigger truck. Sometimes they'll come in a black car. They'll come in a Lexus. You know, you get what you pay for, and it's more expensive to do so, right? You get a town car.
Yep.
There are just so many avenues that if you look at every single industry, they have that. And to try to eliminate it from real estate because you think there was, I really would love to speak to the person that, filed the suit just to see what was going through their mind. Like, what made you hate your realtor so much?
I more or less want to see what's going through their mind now. And now that they see the end result of what they kind of started.
I don't know. I just feel like it'd be interesting to see that.
Yeah,
I would say it'd be interesting to see it. I want to see. Like,
hopefully, that's a Netflix special.
I hope so. I want to be in it. So
Yeah.
Netflix, if you're listening to this, I would love to be in it. I'll slim down for it and everything. I'll get the Tom Cruise body.
So one of my last questions is kind of the timeline. When can we expect the impact of this change
Well,
to start being?
the changes are going to be in the mid August is when the changes are going to start to roll out. But we've rolled out some changes already, pre rollout. So we're not seeing a huge impact in what that's doing. I did notice a lot of fear at the beginning from agents, but as we continue to do education and teach these agents what's going on and what steps to take to just protect them, because what these consumers didn't realize is behind that agent is a family, right? Um, and that agent didn't do anything that was going to warrant a jail sentence. All right. And at the end of the day, like I said, if you want to blame the agent for doing his job because you had to pay him, in order to pay him, he had to have done his job. Um, I just want to know where the agent, like, I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to think about where did the agent lie to piss you off?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because even if he did, no matter how much that agent can lie, you have a contract that you could read. It's not like he switched the contract after the fact. You looked at the contract, you signed it, you agreed to it, and then you're mad because of something. Whatever caused that trigger to make that person go to that attorney.
Yeah.
He had to uh everything else that took place was actually what the realtor was supposed to do. Because think about let me ask you this, right? So they sign a listing agreement,
Mm-hmm.
they get on the market, and then when they get an offer, what do they have to sign?
They have to sign the actual contract, the offer contract.
The offer contract. And then after that, they go to closing and they see what?
They get a CD, a closing disclosure with all the numbers
with all
on
the
it,
fees.
with all the fees, and what they're going to be taking home in their pocket.
So
and they don't have to sign that.
To
they
put it in
don't
perspective,
agree with it.
So put in perspective. When they sign the first agreement, do they know what they're going to pay?
Yes.
When they sign the actual contract, do they know what they're going to pay?
From the offer, yes.
Okay. Before they even sign on the dotted line to sell their house, do they know what they have to pay?
Yes.
So what's the problem?
They knew there's 3 different times when they knew that they were going to pay.
That's my concern, and that's why I think I wish that we did, and I still have high hopes for the company that didn't cave. The problem is I can't work there. I mean, I would love to work there to support them because they're the only ones that didn't cave, and they're the only ones that are not going to have to follow the rules, and they have enough money to build their own empire. So
yep.
that being said, I just feel like it's going to be a bumpy at the beginning, but I think we'll get past this. We've been through so much more. Do I see the times where our rates are going to go very low? People are going to collect very, very, very low income. Yes, but I also see an upside to it. I do see sellers paying more money for the premium realtors, and that will separate the good from the bad, which is okay. I'm okay with that, and I'm okay with letting that part of it, letting nature take its course in that sense, on that end. But I think it's going to be.
I think it gave us more room for the premium realtors.
It does.
It gave them so much more to offer. And you're going to see that premium real estate start flourishing.
Let me ask you a question. Who do you think benefits the most in regards to like today's current market? Who do you think benefits the most? A buyer's agent or a listing agent or selling agent?
A buyer's agent or a listing agent? And what's with these changes applied?
No, with the changes applied and the current market, today's market.
The buyer's agent.
Why?
The buyer's agent, because first of all, let's break this down. Who has the money?
The buyer.
The buyer. So who's really controlling the market?
The buyer.
The buyer. So now that they've given the buyer has the leverage on that end.
Do you see the report with Barbara Cochran?
Which one?
The one she just released this morning?
No.
She did. She said it's crazy because me and Andres call each other every morning.
Yeah.
And we talk about this stuff, and then literally I go on the news and I see it. So she came out and she said that she believes that if you want to buy a house, you need to buy it today, buy it now, because when interest rates drop, the buyers the prices will rise again, because the interest rate will drop, and then it'll create a flood to the market right away to take advantage of that interest drop. But I also,
as you're saying it, I actually remember I did watch it.
Yeah.
I watched it so early this morning. I forgot it was today.
Yeah, I think it was you that sent it. No, it was.
I didn't.
It was Alex. Alex sent it. Alex sent it out. So she said that, and I'm saying to myself, the market will get flooded for a few, but the inventory in certain areas is so high that those areas are still going to have a buyer running it. Like buyers run that market. Like Point Sienna's a ran.
That's a buyer's market, but buyer goes
buyer's paradise right now.
Yes, if you're a seller in Point Siena right now and you get an offer, Davenport, Haines City, and you get an
all
offer,
of Polk County, no, I would say all of Polk County, but most of Polk County,
a good portion of it. Yeah, if you get an offer, do your best to make that offer work, because I don't know when you're gonna get a second one.
Yeah,
it's tough
and
out
it's
there.
crazy because like just a few years ago, Point Siena was up and coming, according to Luis Martinez. But
that's a quote right there.
That is a quote, but Point Siena's inventory was so low that it was sought after. Like people were buying because they were still the cheaper price.
Yeah.
But they had very low inventory and people were still paying top dollar in Point Siena. I'm not seeing that today.
No.
I'm seeing a lot of price reductions in Point Siena.
I'm seeing that market that people from up north come down here looking for. You're going to find that in Point Siena. You're going to find that 3,000 square foot home for going into high twos, mid threes.
I got a question for you. And curiously,
and I actually might be wrong on that number. It might even be lower than that.
Yeah.
I have to check numbers.
I've seen mid twos. I've seen mid twos. It's crazy.
Oh wow.
So, which communities or which areas you think will not be affected, in the sense of whether the price goes down or up? Those communities are still going to sell.
You want me to name them?
Yeah, anyone's that
Dr. Phillips, Windermere, Wyndham Park, Ocoee. I feel like Ocoee's been pretty stable lately.
Ocoee's been super stable. It surprises me. Their inventory is still super low. But Gotha's a block long. Gotha's a block long.
It still counts.
That's like what is it called that I showed you? Edgewood? Was it
yeah, Park? Exactly. Yeah.
I mean in downtown Orlando,
South
of Soto.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That thing's small. Conway. I think Conway's still going to be good. I would say Waterford Lakes.
Waterford Lakes is still going to be strong. What do you think Lake Nona?
Lake Nona will. The thing is, there's so much going on in Lake Nona right now, and it being so close to the airport, I still think it's going to be a strong market. I just feel that they're almost done building.
Mm-hmm.
So, but they build so fast and they're still so young that there is no time for right now. Like it wouldn't be the time right now to to break down and build up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not there yet. Like College Park is still great. And they're there. Like they're buying 2 lots. Funny story. So I was talking to an agent. I was helping out one of my clients, one of my friends, rent a home. And I was sitting down and I was talking to an agent out of Winter Park, and he focuses heavily on Winter Park. He was telling me there was a client that ended up buying 2 houses. He bought one for $12 million in Winter Park, $12 million. Then the next door house was $6 million. He bought that, tore it down, and put a tennis court. That's what he bought the second house for.
Wow!
So he has a ton of money, and the ultra luxury here is around that price point. Obviously, it's higher when you go to the South Florida, Miami, the New Yorks of the world. But here, ultra luxury is between 6, 12, 20 million maybe.
20 million is usually where
it's usually like that. That's our Jeff Bezos. Right?
Yeah, we're talking about that.
So here's what I'm saying. This guy spent close to 18 million, right? So that puts him in that range. But to tear down a house, to put in a tennis court, listen, I don't understand the rich, but I'm telling you right now that there's some major tax benefit to what he did there. It has to be. It has to make sense somewhere. It does. But then it does. It has to.
Also, you start getting to that level of money where it's like, yeah, it made sense to me in the sense that I like to play tennis.
Yeah.
And I didn't like my neighbors.
I don't think it's that simple. I don't think it's that simple. I think there's
sometimes it's the most simple explanation.
Bro, that's a $6 million tennis court. Think about it like that. $6 million
tennis court.
You know, so going back to like Nona, I think that I don't think they'll be affected, but in regards to having a huge price reduction, but I think they will be affected in the sense that they will have price reductions. They will. And the thing is, like, people realize you could just go right across the road over to St. Cloud and be off of Narcoossee and get a really, really, really nice house.
I feel like the traffic is actually better over there.
It's because nobody driving over. Everybody driving up to Lake Northern. Yeah. They're not driving down. Other than that, I think that 32824 is always going to be a hot area. That's the Weatherby Estates area. Meadowwoods area is always going to be hot. That's always going to be a good price point. Hunters Creek is always going to be a good area.
What do you think of Lake Mary?
Lake Mary is going to remain. Lake Mary is going to be solid. It's traditional money there, so it's just going to pass down from generation to generation. It'll continue to keep the values up there. But you're not having a lot of new people move to Lake Mary, unless they, unless they like to fly out of the Sanford Airport, which some people do, and so. Yeah. I mean, there's a guy out there just putting people on his jets just to get them to join his company. I don't know why.
Dang. It must be nice.
Listen, you could put me on the jet all day, but until I'm able to buy my own jet, I'm really not gonna fly. I'm not taking a photo on a jet on somebody else's jet. That's just not me. I'm sorry. Yeah. So
it has to be that we're doing an amazing business deal together, and this deal is gonna end with me having the money to purchase a jet.
And I just don't feel that I want to take a picture on somebody else's jet. I mean, if I'm flying private because I paid to fly private, then that's a different story. I took a picture of something that I'm doing, right? But if I'm just going there for a photo op and then coming back out, I'm just not doing it. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
can't do it.
It's kind of like the fake Rolex effect, right?
Yeah.
I went and bought this fake Rolex so other people think that I have the Rolex money.
Correct.
But at the end of the day, I don't have the Rolex money. That means I don't have the achievements, which means this is kind of pointless.
Yeah. And the thing is, when you get the Rolex, it's a different story.
Yeah.
You look at it different. Yeah. You got other watches, and then you see that one in your collection. You're like, oh, okay, I got that. So.
You have a lot to say about that one.
I mean,
we'll keep that private. But is there anything else you want to add about the settlement?
Yeah, in regards to the settlement, I think that one of the things that we need to realize is that we're not the only industry that's going to be attacked after this because of the fact that people have seen it. The next industry is probably going to be attorneys. So beware because you guys.
But where are they going to find an attorney that's willing to fight that? That's going to be wild. You know who they have to call, right?
A retired attorney.
No, Sal.
Better call Sal. Yeah, he'll do it. I know he'll do it. So that being said, though, thank you so much for joining. Yeah. We really appreciate you being here and listening to us rant about this NAR.
Yeah. If they have questions about it or they want to go to a class about it, are you offering any of them?
Yeah, for any agents that want to take classes on the new contracts that we need to do, yes, we have classes here at La Rosa, here in Orlando, and throughout the company. Reach out to me or Neville. We'll let you guys know. For those of you who are consumers and want to know more, just reach out to us. We'll give you guys pretty much the rundown of the new processes and how we can help you guys obviously save money because that's the goal as a buyer and, save money as a seller as well. I mean, I would say like this, to the buyer, I'm saving you money. To the seller, I'm making you more money. So you have to decide which one you want to work with. But it goes back to wanting to work with either the experienced agent, right? I don't know, if I was having heart surgery, I want the doctor that did it 500 times or the doctor that did it once.
Yep.
If you don't like it, I think there's an AT&T commercial that I recommend you guys all watch. It's a doctor saying, "Guess who got reinstated?"
I've seen that. Yeah.
And then he walks in and the guy goes, "Doc, am I gonna be all right?" He's like, "I don't know, but we'll check it out." Like if that doctor walks into my room, I'm not getting the operation. I'm just not. No. So and what this did is it probably eliminated a lot of those realtors that are like that doctor.
Yep, absolutely.
So we thank you for that. That's the only positive spin I can put on it, and the fact that we're probably going to be paid more money.
Yep,
than we've ever done before.
Yeah, I see that coming for sure.
Yeah. So,
but all right, guys. You? Oh, for me, hold on, what was the question?
NAR.
NAR.
What were the positive spins that you put on it?
No, my positive spins on it is the fact that it gives me more room to negotiate as a buyer's agent. It gives me more room to negotiate for my buyer. It puts me way more in control right there of like just that offer situation.
Now that you say that, it reminds me, it does take control away from the listing agent.
Yeah.
A lot of control.
Yep.
And listing agents do not like that.
No, they do not. But
it's going to be interesting is all I can say.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting.
All right, guys. Thank you for tuning in and just, watching this episode that we had about, we just wanted to try to give as much information on
like
this
and
settlement.
Subscribe.
Yeah, please like and subscribe. I haven't really been seeing too many likes. You guys
watching. We're getting a lot of watching.
Yeah, y'all
so we appreciate that. Thank you so much for watching. But
absolutely
subscribe so you can see our next video. We'll try to be more consistent, I promise.
Yep.
If Neville could just
even though I have plenty of episodes without Ray, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah. But thank you guys for tuning in.